Hello. We're at the workshop at the moment, so I'm just going to explain. Some people have spoke to me recently about LED backlighting on television sets, and I wanted to explain and show you how it works. Excuse my phone. So if I just find a couple of, well, there's one here. This is an LED backlight strip off a television, and there's normally dozens of these fitted behind the screen and behind a diffuser panel and a reflector. The diffuser panels, and let's see if I just got one in the workshop somewhere. Yeah, hang on a minute, I've got one somewhere. Over here somewhere. Oh, there's... Okay, I can't find a diffuser panel. I might have chucked a lot of those away because they're really not worth keeping, to be honest with you. There's another LED strip there. So what happens on these is there's normally, depending on the size of the screen, there's normally dozens of these fitted behind the diffuser panel, and then the LCD screen itself sits on top of that. And some of them are connected with little connectors. I don't know if you can see that there. A little connector there. They're normally connected in a loop, one after another, like Christmas lights. So if you remember the old Christmas lights, you'll remember how awkward they were when one used to blow and then they all used to go out, which is exactly what's happening to these. And you'll end up with a black picture. The picture's still there, you can't see it because the screen's no longer lit up from behind. You'll end up with a black picture and nothing else. Just sound, normally, just sound. So here we've got a little tester which we use. Just grab this off the workbench, here you go. Little high voltage tester, which we can use to generate some voltage for these strips. So if I just put that one there, and I'll put the tester on the end, you'll see, I think these are good ones, these ones, because I kept them because they were probably still good. Probably out of a screen that was smashed. There you go. So that's the strip that's working. And what will happen is one of these LEDs will go out. Say one of these here fails, then all of them will stop working, which will then stop the whole chain working. So all of these will stop working on both sides. You've normally got about 8 to 12 of these, depending on the screen size behind the screen. And then they'll all go out. See, that one's good. See, that's how we can test that strip. And this one here, this is a different strip. If I put that over there, just balance it on top of this tape recorder I'm repairing for someone. That one's good. So that's how we can test them. We can just test them like that and keep going until we find the dead LEDs. Now the problem is, I used to repair these, but it was completely uneconomically viable, really, to be honest with you. And to repair them, we had to take out the screen, we had to dismantle the whole television, take all the diffusers out, all the connections to the timing control boards. It was just a nightmare. It used to take hours. Then you used to have to get behind the screen to get to these, find the dead ones, and then you just have to break the plastic covers off or heat them up to get them off, heat the LEDs up from underneath to get them off, replace them, then rebuild the whole thing, put it all back together. It ended up turning up to be about 6 hours work, and we decided in the long run it really wasn't economically viable because generally they used to fail again within about 6 months because the other LEDs were also on their last legs. So basically one was going, a few were still working, another one was going, and another one was still working, and at the end of the day it was completely pointless because the set used to last for another 3 to 6 months and then go again, and it used to cost the person over £100 to repair each time. It was just not worth doing them, so we stopped doing those in the end. So there you go. So that's basically what happens. There's also a high percentage of screens that could get broken. When you take these sets apart, they're so flimsy, the screens used to crack, so it really wasn't worth worry about it all really. I did the last one about a year ago. Excuse me, and it was just silly really. So let me just see if I can get the LED strips. Here they are. Oh no, that's resistors. I think it's an LED strip somewhere. Well, I've got some LED strips somewhere. They might be in this bag. Hang on a minute. Here they are. So these are the LED replacement LEDs. You can see by my finger they're very small. You can see that. So the light's not that great in here. So they're very, very small, and you have to solder those on individually to the damaged strips, and then replace the diffusers, which are the little caps on the top here. So these had to come off. The LED's actually underneath that, and then they had to be glued back on. Because if you don't get them on straight, you get the light output from them's then wrong, and it sends light patches into the screen. So you'll get a blurred patch in the screen. It just generally, it's just an absolute nightmare, and it really wasn't viable to do these. So, I mean, if you're just doing it for yourself at home and you've got the ability and the time, it's probably viable. But to be fair, it wasn't viable when it's taken up 6 hours of repair time to do it, and we could be doing something else which would have taken us 20 minutes and earn just as much money. So it really wasn't worth doing. So I just wanted to explain to anyone who has this issue. I saw a few people on Facebook recently who've had this issue, what happens to these sets, and I'm afraid once this happens they are in effect scrap and they can't be repaired economically anyway. Okay, take care of yourselves. Cheers.